All right. Yeah, we have extremely cold temperatures here today. And we live in the country and we've got a big internet tower that normally has no problems, except for sometimes when it gets cold like this. The only thing is I may have to shut my camera off if the connection runs a little bit slow again. So just a heads up. So today we're getting into beliefs. This is a really fun, easy piece. And so basically, it's an opportunity for you to look at what beliefs aren't congruent with some of the prosperity principles and consciousness we've been talking about over the last 5 days. I can't believe it's been 5 days already. That went by so fast. So I think we should settle in, and I'm going to open up to the Akashic field, and we can move through some of this belief work in the field. It's just a nice place to get centered, where everything's just like a little bit more, there's just a little bit more clarity. So we'll center into the Akashic field. I'm going to go through about 20 different beliefs. I was reading through them this morning and I was like, oh, these are so good. Like, oh yeah, right, that one's so good. Some of these I go back to too, when maybe I'm doing a launch or I'm calling in kind of like bigger sums of money. So I'm going to read those through, and we'll let your body kind of like do the talking. You'll just kind of listen for what a belief isn't really, maybe isn't resonant. No, that's not the right way I want to say it. You'll know if you have that belief instilled or not. Your body will tell you. And then I'll do a little bit of, we'll just see what kind of one layer of like money block wants to come up today. And that basically takes us to day 5. So, and then if there most likely will be some time at the end. So if there are room for any questions or if anything wasn't clear over the last 5 days, you have that space too. Well, also you have that invitation to meet on the full moon for I call them the Feminine Prosperity Akashic Moon Circles. So you can join me there. You can sink in for another layer of activation and clearing, and there's some Q&A space there as well. Of course, you have me in Voxer as you move through the content and if any questions come up. All right, so let's move into the Akashic field. All right, so you can join me if you'd like to by closing your eyes and dropping your chin. This feels like a nice thing to do just because it's the end of the 5 days. It's been a busy week for me. I don't know if it's been a busy week for you. Everybody's kind of like gung-ho and off to the races, all my clients. So yeah, okay. So we'll just kind of presence ourselves, paying attention to your environment, paying attention to any scents, any sounds, and going ahead and kind of bringing our focus now to your breath. And then into the space of your body. Maybe you're noticing like your heartbeat. Maybe you're just paying attention to any sensations. And let's draw our attention even a little bit further into the energetic womb space. And just noticing any sensations that you might feel there. Beautiful. And we're going to let our body weight drop just a little bit more, until we feel really fully held by the beauty of Mother Earth. I'm seeing already little crystal snowflakes like all around in my field. So the invitation is to go ahead and see that for yourself. Was half the time my intuitive journeys start before I even enter the field. But all of these in these little sparkly like crystal snowflakes, they have codes in them. There's been lots of codes coming through lately. So they've got all of these codes, these little crystalline codes, there you go. And the crystalline codes, the crystalline snowflakes, they're just kind of like dancing around in your field, like really playfully and really light. And they're kind of like touching in on just like anything that feels heavy or weighted in your energetic field, any emotions or any thoughts that you might be carrying that are not yours, any energy that feels dense. It's just kind of like these swirling crystalline codes are like just breaking it up, and they're neutralizing all that space and that energy around you, right? Breaking apart any area where we're kind of like holding on, or we're attached to like the illusion rather than like dropped into divine truth. Beautiful. And we're just going to let like everything that feels weighted and dark, I'm just kind of seeing it now swirling around, all being transmuted. And we're going to bring it up through the gold door, and then we're going to release it fully back to source. And we're just going to see ourselves held in this beautiful crystalline bubble now. This is your bubble, your clear space. And we're going to go ahead and invite, I'm feeling some Archangel Michael presence here. So let's go ahead and invite in Archangel Michael, Archangel Michael, Archangel Michael. And we're going to ask Archangel Michael to please clear all cords, hooks, energetic attachments that are running from ourselves to any other person. And we're going to ask Archangel Michael to clear just any mind viruses, any beliefs, any thoughts, emotions that are not ours. Again, anything that is separating us from truth. So we'll go ahead and we'll see Archangel Michael in the cobalt blue sword, just kind of like wash right over the chakra system, just clearing away everything that doesn't serve, and the back of the chakra system, like through the back too. And then we'll see all of that just release fully back to source. Beautiful. And outside of that, outside of the crystalline bubble, I'm seeing all of a sudden like thousands or hundreds of rose petals fell. And it's just kind of creating this really like soft, supportive, nourishing space around us, like this perfect circle of like rose petals, like just really allowing us to feel held in that space of divine love by the Divine Mother, by the Divine Father, and letting yourself drop in just a little bit more. Allowing yourself to lean into your back body, being supported and feeling held. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call down the temples of divine love, light, truth, abundance, wisdom, and power to descend, grow, and expand around us, calling in our guides, masters, angels, teachers, ancestors to be present, and for truth and accuracy to be obtained for the highest good of each woman here on the call and each woman who'll be listening to this call in the future, setting the intention for the highest good. Asking this to be a divinely protected space where only the highest frequencies of love and light shall exist. Thank you, thank you. We'll bring our focus to the energetic womb space. Just see it fill up with a delicious golden energy, swishing, swirling, cleansing, clearing, activating through the sacral. We'll bring that cord down through the core of the body, down through all the layers of earth and crust and soil and root and rock. And we'll just drop it in the core of Mother Earth and just releasing anything that's being held there. And then we'll bring our focus to the heart space, seeing the magenta rose. We'll see the magenta rose bloom open. And then from there, seeing the golden grid of the flower of life begin to expand and swirl out from the heart space located at the center of the chest. Letting this pure wisdom and high frequency light, the radiant divine substance of all of creation that's interwoven into all of life, begin to permeate and infuse itself within us, out from us, and all around us into the Akashic field. We're going to let that light continue to grow, expand, and interpermeate with the physical and non-physical reality that exists before us, all around us, and within us. And we're going to let that radiant divine substance of all of life that flows through all things, just continuing to let it flower and expand. And then just seeing, sensing, feeling now as the doors to the Akasha and all the light, love, and wisdom of the Akasha open to us now. And so it is. Whew, that was a hard one for me because I was already getting so many symbols coming through. And yeah, so anyways, here we are in the Akashic field. And the thing that I saw too, I saw the snake, the Shakti snake, the snake. And then I also saw the apple tree, like the tree in like the Garden of Eve. And so there was something coming through around like shame when it comes to like our desires and shame when it comes to pleasure. I don't know where that piece will fall in, but it kind of does fall in when we're talking about beliefs and like having our desires and being able to claim our desires, and being able to like align our businesses and our lives to the full expression of our feminine values and our female power. And the other piece that came through when I said the word ancestor, there was something around that. So I'm wondering if maybe that's where we take a little bit of the clearing work today. We'll see. Okay, so that's what came through there. So let's move along. It's easy for me to plug in this space and then just go to town channeling. So I'm gonna move along and we're gonna talk about beliefs. Okay, so let's go. There's 20 of them. They're so good. And I'm going to give you these beliefs. So I'm going to post this in Guide 5. And this is something you can continue to work with over the month. Yeah, I mean, that's what I did. These are so good and I'll still come back to them. Okay, so let's see here. Is there anything I want to like? No, I think we're good. Okay. Top 20 beliefs. So the first one is, and as I read them, you're just going to notice if like, yes, I've got that one, I believe it. Or no, I don't quite have that one. And again, your body will tell you, or just you'll feel the vibration of it. So the first one is, I am worthy of having it all. And you can just write down yes or no, or number one, yes, or whatever. Number one, no. So I am worthy of having it all. It is my divine birthright to have all the money I need and desire. I always have more than enough of everything I need and desire. I always have more than enough money. I am more than enough and have always been. Money loves me. Money is always there for me. Money supports me in living the life of my dreams. Money desires to serve me and support me. Clients desire to give me money in return for my services. God is the source of my supply. This next one is one of my favorites because it's a universal law. So for every demand, wait, there is a supply for every demand. All my needs are instantly met. I am a rich daughter of God and deserve to have it all. God desires to give me all. It's safe for me to be seen. It's safe for me to have it all. It's safe for me to be strong, powerful, and shine as brightly as I can. The world needs what I have to offer now. It's okay for me to have more money than I know what to do with. Having lots of money contributes to my abundance and the abundance of the planet. Okay. There's actually 22. So anyways. So those are the 20. So just notice the ones that you didn't feel like you have yet. And of course, we always get to decide if there's like a belief that we want to, take on or integrate. So if it was, you looked at one and you're like, that's fine too. There's something though that I wanted to touch on as I was reading this. I wanted to stay quiet till the very end, but like God desires to give me all, or let's see here. Where did I see that again? I deserve to have it all. Like, it's like, what is all too? And so just kind of like, sorry, message came in. So I just wanted to touch on, I struggle with all too. Well, okay, cool. Well, so I'm glad that I said that. It was pinging me for some reason. So all is like, let's talk about authentic success. That's what I wanted to talk about, because for me, all was like off-grid living. Like for me, all was like sustainable living. And for me, all was like living in a nourished place where I could be present with my daughter, um, where I could make money and like the flow of my purpose, and I could feel free in my expression. That was, and travel, like have, room for travel. So that was all for me. And now as I'm opening up to kind of like the next level vision, it's changing a little bit, but like not much. A little bit in terms of like contribution. So I think all, right? It's like so easy to get caught up in like what is all. Um, is like just taking a moment to like feel into like your vision of like authentic success, like the all that just fits right and feels good to you. And that's where we get to take some time to get clear on like our wants, our needs, our values as women. Like to me, that's all. And there's always deeper in the spiral that we can travel into what is our next, like what is the next desire. And that's kind of like all, like that's desire, like it's like making that separation. And I don't think this message does want to come through for whoever wants to hear it even later on the call. Like there's a separation from like the way that we've been taught to believe what we should want, right? And the ego wants, and then the actual like true, like deeper, like authentic desires. And for me, it was like simplicity and spaciousness are like, that's all for me. Peace, like having peace in my life is like all for me, right? So for someone else, that might look completely different. It might be like owning multiple properties and da 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 da, like whatever that gets to be their all. But this is where it becomes important to like tune into like the deeper desires versus like the what we've been told we should want, or like what the ego sometimes thinks that it should want. um and that's that sheet too in day 2, guide 2, where I talked about aligning to a beautifully abundant lifestyle. There's some room to kind of like sink into that, and it all gets to change. um yeah, so like our all should just like feel good and natural to us. And desire too, like there was something around the word desire when I kept reading it. um I just want to touch in on that and see if I can go back to it. It's my divine birthright to have all the money I need and desire. Yeah, all the money I need and desire, right? Because again, it's like all the money we need and desire is not necessarily about um like being like wealthy beyond like all, like whatever, like all standards. And although if that was part of your calling, and like money was a part of your purpose, and like that was the vision that you were authentically called to live, then go for it. Um but but it's like important too to like all the money I need and desire, like what does that look like for you, right? And so for me too, like along my path, it was I didn't want to live in like overflow, like that idea of like I have more money than I know what to do with. I don't live with a ton of overhead in my life, so more money that than I know what to do with was, like it didn't actually take long before I was like living in that kind of like surplus. So it's more too about, I think for me, about like the spaciousness, and about having the life that's aligned to our deeper values, and about living from that place of like overflow, right? Our overflow energy. I found I am, let's see here. Let's take Rich Daughter of God, really interesting too. I know, I do too. And so those ones you can kind of like sit with, but I think that for me, when I started to explore it, um, and this one came from like when I was working with like a money coach like many, many years ago. And I was kind of like working on like what, like was working around some of my feelings and programming around what the divine, or what like the presence of God actually meant for me. That one kind of a little bit was like, ooh, to me, I don't even know if it's like, ooh, to you, but it was like, ooh, to me, like, what does that mean? Um, but it's like, it was, it was okay, cool. Yes, but it's more so, and we touched a little bit on inner child work, and that's like a big foundation piece of my work, is anchoring in to the new paradigm. And a lot of it starts with, there's so many legs and so many roots to it, but it's like At the end of the day, a lot of like our scarcity patterns, or a lot of sometimes our codependent patterns, or a lot of like where we're like leaning out of scarcity come from like when we're a child. And sometimes as grown women, at the level of our inner little girl, it's like we still feel kind of like scared and like unsupported. And so there's like that piece of like just remembering that at a universal level, like we are children of the universe, and that we were born to be rich. Like we were born to be rich. And rich again is like, I like rich because it activates for me the divine wealth codes. It like kind of unlocks like it unlocks the keys to like my queendom and those templates for me. So just that's the work that I've kind of come up and explored, and how I sit with it. But it could be different for you. And at the end of the day, it may not be for you, but also it's always kind of interesting. And it is that word God too, that like in the scope of my work, and just the work that I've done with money and the divine masculine and the word God, it's like not uncommon for not all women, but for some women to be like, I don't even like know about like using that word. So, we can change it to like the divine, or the universe, or a spirit, or whatever you want to change it to. Okay, so that is good. So that kind of gives us some place to land. And then also, as you dive into like your own wealth consciousness reading, like that's where you're going to like start to even gather more beliefs that become congruent to like what just like feels so good for you. Okay. Let me tune in. Okay, I'm just kind of like, where am I going next? Feels like there's something else around there. And if you have any other questions or comments, let me know. Those are always so fun. But let's just do a little bit of clearing just to end this time off with a bang. And yeah, and we'll just see where it goes from here. So I did pick up on the word like ancestry. I wonder if there's something around there. So let's go ahead and we can open up our Akashic records. And so I'm just going to request to the guides that the Akashic record of each woman on the call, and each woman who'll be listening to the call in the future, that it now be opened. And if that feels good to you, you can simply say yes if it feels good to you. And so here we're working with our energetic record, and let's see what's coming up collectively in the group. It's always so fascinating because even in a group space, at first I used to, when I started doing group work, I always like wondered if it would like work for everyone, but it's so fascinating because I haven't seen it not work for everyone. Okay. Okay, well, so there is a belief that's coming up. And so that's interesting because beliefs are kind of like, we have collective beliefs, but then we also have like our personal beliefs. So is it a collective belief that's coming up? Okay. Is it stemming from like this present life experience? No. Okay. And then is it past life? Is it ancestral? Aha. Okay. How many generations back are we going? Okay, so again, it's like the numbers, it gets a little bit more general when we're working in a group space. I'm going back about 5 generations. I'm really just wanting to like pull out the theme so that at like a body kind of like cellular level, we have like something, some frame of reference for each of us. So I'm going back about 5 lifetimes ago, and I'm going to pull up kind of like whatever the story is that wants to be presenced. And so let me go ahead and like look at this. I'm already seeing it. It's everyone else before myself. Okay, so what does that mean? Everyone else before myself. And I'm seeing like a grandma or like a mom, actually, grandma mom in the home. And it's kind of like, okay, so that the home gets taken care of. You know, the man walks in, the meal's prepared, the kids are taken care of. oh, it's 8 o'clock at night, like I can finally sit down and do some knitting or whatever. So, and this is like, so it's kind of like a common one, right? So, but it's like everybody else before me. And so it's like one of those caregiving patterns. And also we come from like a part of our experience with the feminine is typically where it's like the masculine gets served first before the needs of the woman, and that's just like kind of like what we pull from. And this is why I love talking about like inner masculine feminine templates so much, because this can actually show up too, as in like where our feminine doesn't, our feminine needs, our feminine desires and wants, just even in the scope of our own internal energetic system, doesn't get put first. She doesn't get put first. She's like catering to like the needs of like the to-do lists, the to-do lists, or what needs to be done, or this and this and this needs to be done before you can actually like indulge in like some feminine aspect. So, and I'm not really sure why I went off on that tangent as I was saying it. I'm like, well, it'll connect somewhere. So I kind of just like, there's that piece, and I'll just take it and put it to the side. And I'm going to go back to that ancestry piece that's coming through about everyone else before myself. Okay, this is so good too. It's, and it is it's a collective belief in the scope of like our space that's showing up. And I just see what chakra it's sitting at. Yeah, it's like showing up at like the heart chakra space. It's got like a real caregiving tendency to it. I mean, and this is like the sneaky thing about like beliefs and patterns, is that it can play out in a way where it's like, okay, well, and just noticing in the scope of your own experience where it sometimes feels like that. Like I'm taking care of clients, I'm like doing this for my like mom, I'm like taking care of like my husband, like whatever it is. Right. And then underneath it's kind of like, well, when all of that gets done, then I'll have some space for my dreams or my desires or what like I really want, or more pleasure or whatever, deeper intimacy, or more room for like my creativity. But because they're beliefs, they create patterns. And so it's like it almost creates a sense of fatigue in some way, because there's like never really that kind of space, because we're in this pattern of like, well, and this is like, kind of typical too for like, healers, caregivers, moms. And yes, yeah, totally. Yeah, but you just notice where it plays out too. I feel like there's something coming through like around like caregiving, like with family of origin, like there's something coming through there too. So it's like, let's go ahead, and it's coming through at the heart chakra and belief and everyone else before myself. It's funny that that even rhymes. And I'm going to ask, please, that belief following me and following the ancestral lineage, but I'm going to actually ask that belief be cleared and destroyed right to the point of creation through any and all timelines that it may have been created. And then I'm going to ask that it please be transmuted to divine love and light, and then through all spaces, realities, timelines, and dimensions, transmuted to divine love and light, and then released fully back to source. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. And this too, as we're talking about desires and like having it all and like authentic success, this type of block is what can sometimes disconnect us from the next layer of like what our authentic desires really are, and like what all actually like really like feels like and looks like to us, because we don't necessarily have the space or the energy to like really examine what that is, or the patterns kind of keeping us disconnected from our ability to drop in and really perceive it or hear it. Like the tendency would just to put other things as more of a priority than our own feminine desires and wants and needs and vision. So I love this, because my sense is as we clear it out, it's going to like open up space, like a, yeah, Actually, it just does feel good to like sink into this. Oh, actually, it just feels like kind of natural and right to like make that space now and to have that clarity. And then there's a new kind of trajectory or space that begins to open for us. And this is where money can really start to meet us in the place of our desires and our needs and our wants, like our true needs, desires, and wants. I know for me, it's like when I have that like deeper clarity and it just is like, yes, that's what I need. I need these things. Like I need massages. I need more like creative time. I need more space in nature. I need whatever the need is. I really need travel. And then my desires, like what do I really desire to create in my life? And my vision, when I still really land in those spaces of truth and I touch in on those deeper parts of myself, it's like, why wouldn't the supply like want to meet me in those places? Like this is for real, like a real integral piece of like who I am as a divine being in this human experience. Why wouldn't the supply meet me there? Why wouldn't the divine have my back? Okay, so we cleared that out. And then I'm just going to tune in. I don't know what time it is. Let me see what time it is. I can't see what time it is. Oh, there we go. 10. That belief felt really connected. Let's see, to servant girl. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see this play out in the scope of women's businesses. Yeah. When like, oh, I'm so tired of like, I just had this the other day. Like, I'm so tired of taking care of clients like this. And like underneath, they just want it's almost like a self permission sometimes, but like with the Akashic record worker just blocks in general, it's like sitting under the surface. So it's like a little harder to connect that we're like operating out of these patterns. But this is so beautiful. And it really is because it gives us a full permission, especially for you, Allison, because you were talking about kind of like redesigning your business, right? So it's like you get to come back into that place of like dreaming and like, how can my business support me? Right. And it's like, when we're anchored in this path of service, like as like I'm really rooted in that like archetypal queen energy, right? So being in your power, being that bridge between heaven and earth, however you want to view it, it's like you get to direct your creative power and your vision towards what is going to service you first, because it's going to support you in showing up in such a nourished, amplified way. And then the clients can step in and meet you there. But yes, I totally see that it's connected to servant girl. Okay. And let me just tune in here. Well, I'll see one last layer and then we'll sign off. So the other piece that's coming through is there's a vow. I love clearing vows because they're very, like, to me, they're simple and like how they were created and what the vow looks like, but they actually can create some really deeply entrenched patterns. So the vow that's coming up, let's see here. Is this past lifetime? We're traveling that lineage. Okay. So vows are always created through, I'll give you a little bit of a frame of reference on this one. And vows are always created through, there's always got to be an element of ceremony, a little bit of ritual, and like it's like a deep, heartfelt promise somewhere. So it's like all those energetic components create the block of a vow. And now let's see what's coming up. So it looks to me like, this is a weird one. I'm going to talk this one out because it's coming through quite strange. I'm seeing, is it a female that I'm looking at? Yes. Okay. Like I'm seeing a female kneeling down at the cemetery, like in front of like a gravestone. Am I saying that right? A headstone, gravestone? Anyways, so she's kneeling. So there's like this sense of like loss, but I also get the sense that this woman feels like really stuck. And it's almost like she's like married to like a really old, this is actually, now it's making sense. So she's feeling stuck, but she's like really married to like an old lover, essentially, like her old husband or her old lover, but like she's not moving forward. So it's like this vow of, let's see here. It's like a vow of sacrifice. It's like a vow of sacrifice. So she's like actually like waiting and like kind of like this like space of like, yes, but you're the one that I married. Like you're the one that I committed to. I don't want to move forward. But it's like there's like this space of like kind of like darkness around her because she can't stay in that space forever, and it's like time to move forward, right? It's time to move forward into her own fulfillment, like on along her path now. And yet she's very like, well, wait a minute, is it a vow of sacrifice, or is it a marriage vow? No, it's a vow of sacrifice. So she's like essentially sacrificing like her happiness and her path through like this like old commitment, this is very cool. So it's like noticing in your life, I guess my sense is kind of like too, it's like where we've been allowing ourselves to be stuck, not moving forward. And you're just noticing it could be in one way, it could be in a few ways, it could be subtle, it could be a little more deeply entrenched. But where we're not allowing ourselves to move forward because we're so, I guess, committed or attached to the old ways, right? The old ways that are dying. and this is, I'm going to talk this out. Some of this will resonate with you and maybe some of it won't, but here's my sense, and the way the transmission's coming through to me is that it's like this idea of like being it's like the servant girl. It's like where we hold ourselves back, where we sacrifice, where we like allow our old beliefs around like money to create limitation and to like hold us back and keep us stuck, right? I just get this sense of being really stuck, like this energy of like sacrifice, like in a way. And it's like where too any attachments to your old life are just not serving you anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask that this vow, please, this vow of sacrifice be cleared right to the point of creation, cleared and destroyed right to the point of creation. But I'm going to also ask that it be cleared through any and all timelines where this vow is showing up, depending on whose record it is. And that we're going to ask that it be cleared and destroyed right to the point of creation, backwards and forwards, through all spaces, realities, timelines, dimensions, and that it be transmuted now to divine love and light and then released fully back to source. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Okay, so then as I say that, what I'm seeing is like all of that like crumbling, like it's like and it's so funny because I couldn't really see fully the woman. I could just kind of see like a shadow of her and like the darkness of like the grave and the headstone, and it kind of is like all shattering. And then all of a sudden it's like there's this really powerful version of each of us, like fully anchored into our creative power as like sovereign women. And again, this is the thing that I've learned along my path too. And it was so freeing when I finally figured that out. It's like I go first and then the money follows. Because we're such powerful creators as divine beings in this human experience. It's really not the money that limits us, right? So very often it's like, we're like, well, the money's not there for me. Like, it's like I've got to like, really, there's not enough money, or the money's not there for me. So I don't know. I'm like, I'm not going to move forward. I'm just going to like stay here. But what I have found is that our deepest desires, like when I have a deep desire, when I have a deep vision or a deep calling or a deep like need, and it's like, if I claim it and I go first, right? It's like, even when like the perceived money isn't there, the money shows up and it meets me because we're creating all the time. So there becomes, in essence, it's like a freedom, and money becomes a partner. It becomes a servant instead of like a master, right? So just going ahead in your mind's eye and just seeing like that. This is one of my favorite things to do, but like that template or that visual of like your beautiful, like powerful, like future self standing in front of you, right? She's just really embodied in like what your all is for you, your authentic version of success. And you're going to send her love and she's going to send you love. And I feel like she's like, yes, you are so worthy and deserving of having it all, you know, whatever your desires are. And there's just this final piece too of just like whatever, wherever and whatever wherever you're at in terms of like feeling into your desires. It's like there can sometimes, it's the snake that's kind of like coming through and like the apple tree is like desires are sometimes like sneaky because they live within and we travel the spiral as we like tap into like deeper and deeper desires. I mean, there's been times where I've like sat on top of deeper desires because I was like afraid to acknowledge them because I knew that the part of me maybe didn't feel worthy of having them, right? So that's like where it's like, oh, I don't know. It's like maybe other women can have those desires, but like I don't know if I can. Right. And so we create that disconnect, or it's like we're just like hesitant to bring them to life because we don't necessarily know that we're worthy of them, or we are hesitant of stepping more fully into our power in order to like bring it to life. And sometimes it's just like the space that needs to be created and open creates change. So there could be hesitancy there too. It's more of that disruptor energy. So seeing your beautiful future powerful self and just like pulling her into your body, letting her energy just like marinate and like tingle and activate and just like pulling her into your cells. Beautiful. So I think I'm just going to give you one extra little step for today, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to thank the guides, guardians, masters, angels, goddesses, ancestors, guides for being present here today. And then just knowing that all the clarity, healing, intentions, activations from this entire 5 days and into the 30 days and beyond is going to unfold into completion for your highest good. And the door between the worlds is now closed. So something fun that you could do today too is like while you're in that connection to like that woman, like feeling in her energy, is like actually going and using some like sacred adornment, like just like pulling out like a sweater or a shirt or a pair of earrings or like whatever that actually just kind of like anchors that energy in a little bit. Just like giving yourself the experience of like being in her energy today. And of course, you could do that throughout the 30 days and beyond. It's a really fun practice. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. And for those of you that you're in the 30 days and I'm definitely there for you. For anyone who wants private support, reach out. I have a couple packages for the 30-day Beautifully Abundant Akashic Journeys. So this is that opportunity to dive into some of the pieces specific to you and your journey and your business. They're beautiful. 30 days, we can do so much. And we meet weekly. You have email access or messenger access to me in between sessions. So you can let me know if something like that speaks to you. And otherwise, there's also the Akashic Women's Guide certification coming up in the middle of the month. Yeah, beautiful. That's awesome, Allison. So there's a couple different ways you can go deeper with my work, and you can just keep your eyes and ears open if this work is speaking to you and you feel that pull, and just message me with any questions. I'm so grateful that I had this time with all of you. And I think that's all. Yeah, just questions and shares and whatever in the Facebook group or Voxer. And I'm sending you all so much love. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.